Okay, so on this question, they're giving us this big array of 100 numbers. N equals 100. Here's a data set. 100, N is the total number of numbers that has been sorted. So it goes from smallest number, and they just get bigger and bigger and bigger all the way down to here, the biggest number. And here's a bar graph of all those numbers. All right, what do they want? They want us to find the 34th percentile. So how do we find the 34th percentile? Well, if you go to the exam number 1 notes, it says finding the P40, etc. So what do? First off, this means find the value in the 40th percentile spot. That is the value with 40% of the data below it. The first data must be put in order, which it is from lowest to highest. Take the 40%, change to decimal, and then multiply by n, the total number of data values. So that's the first step. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to take, want to find P34. So I change it to a decimal times n. And what is n? In this case, it's 100. So that comes out 34, because it just, the multiplying by 100 just moves the decimal 2 places. So it comes out a nice clean 34. So that makes sense. That's the first step. The decimal times n. So 0.34 times 100. That's what it says. Take the decimal and then multiply by n. Okay, now there's 2 options. Option 1, option 2. Notice if p times n is a whole number, you do one thing. If p times n is a decimal, you do the other. What did we get? We got 34, which is a what? A whole number. It's not a decimal. It came out a whole number, right? Not a decimal. So, okay, so what do we do? Well, what do the notes say to do? Then find the value in the data in that spot and the next value and average them. So here's an example. It says, like if you get 12, 12 is a whole number, not a decimal. So go find the 12th and 13th data values and average them, add them and divide by 2. So in other words, find the 34th and 35th values, data values. Does that make sense? When you get a whole number, that's what it says here. When you get a whole number, go find that spot and the next spot, add them and divide by 2, average them. So go find the 34th. How do you find the 34th? Well, here's the 30s. This is 31, 32, 33, 34. See the 4 there? And this is 35. 30. So there's the 34th and the 35th data values. So the 34th data value is right there. The 35th data value is right there. So what does this say? To find the 34th percentile, we need to average the values between location 34 and location 35, don't we? We need to average the values between those 2 locations. So what is the average of those values? Well, you take the first one, 31.2, right? That's right here. That's the 34th. That's the value in the 34th spot. And then this is the value in the 35th spot, 31.4, not much different. Add them and divide by 2. That's how we average 2 things, right? We add them up and divide by 2. If you do that in your calculator, you get 31.3. 31.3. Therefore, that is the 34th percentile. So one more time, whenever you want to find a P, a percentile spot, you change to decimal, multiply by n, the total number of numbers. If it comes out a whole number, which ours did, then you've got to find the number in that spot and the next spot, 34th spot, 35th spot, 34th spot, 35th spot. Get those 2 values, 31.2, 31.4, add them and divide by 2, find the average of them. Meaning you want the middle. We're averaging because we want to find the middle of those 2 values. That's what an average is, the middle, right? So I'm wanting to find the middle of those 2 numbers, the average of those 2 numbers, add them and divide by 2. That's going to be the 34th percentile. In other words, 31.3, that data value is 34% along the way. That's what it means. You know, percentile is a ranking system from 0 to 100. If you're at the 34th percentile, you're about right there, 34th percentile. You're about, 1/3 of the way through. Well, we're trying to find the data value that is 34% of the way through this data table. And what is it? Well, it's right in the middle of these two, the 34th and 35th values. The middle is the average. It's the number 31.3, which is right in the middle of 31.2 and 31.4. It's 34% of the way through the data table. It's the 34th percentile. There we go.